Last week, I opened up my Twitter to find that, of all things, Steakums was trending under politics. Apparently, the Pennsylvania-based frozen meat company was going after Neil deGrasse Tyson, one of the most famous astrophysicists in the world, and taking him down. It was not how I imagined my day going, but it was definitely worth the ride. The beef, as it were, started when Tyson tweeted, "The good thing about science is that it's true, whether or not you believe in it." A sentiment that is by no means original to him and one that I know that I've shared from time to time. Steakums, however, was not impressed. Log off, bro. Being new to Steakums' social media presence, I didn't know what to think at first. Was this some far-right, anti-intellectual handle? Yet another example of a corporation voicing an opinion nobody needed? No. When I looked through the replies and saw them talking about epistemology, I knew that this handle was used to engaging in some serious conversations. As I read through the responses, I saw that there was actually a pretty nuanced and not so popular understanding of science taking center stage, and so I thought it might be a good topic to review here. Why, in a debate between an astrophysicist and a frozen meat company, I'm going with the latter. Which, it should be stated from the beginning, is not because the Catholic Church doesn't like science. Some may look at what I'm wearing, look around and see all the Catholic imagery and say, well, of course he doesn't like science. I mean, Galileo, right? No. The commonly held account of Galileo comes from an anti-Catholic work of the 19th century by a man named John William Draper, a historian known for perpetuating numerous debunked stories of history, such as the idea that the people of the Middle Ages believed that the world was flat, which they didn't. The truth is that the Church has always supported the sciences, properly understood. Galileo was not stripped of his teaching faculties because he taught science, but because he taught what he could not prove. It's a reminder that history is always more complicated than can be taught to second graders, and so, as you get older, it's important to dig a little deeper. What's important here, though, and what I want to discuss in this video, is what I mean when I say that the Church supports science properly understood. To do that, the first thing that we have to know is that there is no such thing as science, as some objective, wholly comprehensive and uniform authoritative source that has the answer to every question. There is no person or central building you can just call up to see what science is saying. Science doesn't say anything. There is the process of scientific inquiry that observes the natural world, collects sense data, and tests hypotheses through experimentation, and there are specific scientific studies carried out by individual human beings at a particular time in a particular place. Both of these are immensely important, but neither one is perfect. Scientific studies may take place in a lab and aim to follow the most rigorous of objective standards, but they're ultimately carried out by humans, meaning that they come with human flaws. Just because a study concludes something doesn't mean that it's above scrutiny. There may have been a problem with the measurement or calculations, the size or randomness of the sample data, whether the conclusions were rightly proven or they're the result of unidentified factors. Maybe the study was just poorly designed from the start, and so it yielded flawed results. Just because a study uses the scientific method, a good way of encountering the world, doesn't mean that it's accurate. Mistakes can be made and outliers do exist, which is why it's important not to come to conclusions before replicating and verifying results. Look at what happened in the famous vaccine study in 1998. Physician Andrew Wakefield and 11 co-signers published a paper proving a link between the MMR vaccine and autism in children, creating a massive stir. Unfortunately, Wakefield had a number of undisclosed conflicts of interest, manipulated his evidence, and broke a number of ethical codes. Other scientists looked at his data, debunked it, and had his paper retracted. Really, this is just how science works. While not always as scandalous, this process is one that affects even the greatest scientists in history. Studies are often disproved or amended with further inquiry. Albert Einstein proved Newton wrong about gravity, but scientists in the late 1990s proved Einstein's cosmological constant wrong. It happens as we grow. This is not to say, however, that in itself science is wrong. It's simply to point out that science isn't dogmatic. It doesn't claim to have the final, unchanging, definitive answer to anything. Science is an open-ended, self-correcting process, always seeking the most accurate answer. Not everything that every scientist concludes will be accurate, but as a whole, as a process, it is a useful way of understanding the world around us. Observe, hypothesize, test, conclude, repeat. It's for this reason that saying science is true whether or not you believe in it is misleading at best, but extremely damaging at worst. Scientific studies are not free from error, and so sometimes conclusions are simply wrong. If people are taught to think of science as a uniform, always right process, what does this do when, inevitably, new data is found and findings are updated or even disproven? They're going to dismiss the process as a whole. They're going to question all of science as suspect, and that is a problem. Now, luckily, hopefully, I think all scientists understand this. Even if they use sloppy language and mislead the public like Tyson often does, they know that it is not the individual study, but the overall scientific method that is true. It's about the process of inquiry and experimentation that people should put their faith in, which is good, but also the much larger problem. You see, the real problem with Tyson's language isn't just that it's sloppy, it's that, as Steakums of all people points out, it's a problem of epistemology, a problem with the way that we understand truth. In saying that science is true whether or not you believe in it, Tyson conflates facts with truth, implying that what science does is provide ultimate truths. The problem, of course, is that facts and truth are not the same thing. Facts are data points. They're verifiable bits of information. Truth, on the other hand, is a bit different. It's about meaning and purpose, wisdom, and knowing what to do and why we do what we do with that information. Science provides facts, and it does it very well. Observe, measure, experiment. But it does not, and really cannot, provide meaning. It can't provide purpose. It doesn't provide truth. Science can measure one's heart rate when they see their spouse, but it can't explain love. Science can analyze brainwaves in stressful situations, but it can't determine justice. Science can observe the natural response of various stimuli on people, but it can't provide a code of ethics to live by. All that it provides is facts about the natural, observable world. And while that's great and important and should be taken seriously, we must not fall into the foolish trap of our age of believing that science and truth are equivalent, that science is the only and supreme study that we need, that verifiable sense data is the only thing that is true. Scientifically speaking, a sunset is nothing more than the rotation of the Earth causing a fiery sphere of nuclear fusion to drop below our line of sight. It's true. But it's more than that, right? It's remembrance of our youth. It's end-of-the-day joy. It's a stroke of inspiration, a moment of wonder. Think about all the things that poetry and literature, art and cinema do to express the truth of a sunset that science simply can't capture. It's filled with subjectivity and unverifiable data, yes, but it shares a truth that touches to our core. According to science, a home is nothing more than a building, the sum of various parts and tools configured in a certain way that can be measured and accounted for. But it's more than that, right? It's a place with history. Its walls tell stories that mean something to us, that spark our imagination, that inform our freedoms, even define our self-worth. A home is filled with subjectivity, yes. History consists of far more than verifiable facts, sure. But they share a truth that touches us to our core. The fact of the matter is that truth extends far beyond what can be seen, measured, and verified. It consists of love and justice, ethics and arts, memories and relationships, things that express something deeply meaningful to the human experience, things that give purpose to this life, things that provide truth to the world. To say that science is true, whether or not you believe in it, is both flawed and incomplete because scientific inquiries can be wrong and they never tell the full story. Science itself is neither reliable enough nor comprehensible enough to be our only source of truth. It is a part of the answer. It's a form of inquiry that provides immense benefit to the human experience and so should be taken seriously, yes. But it is but one form of inquiry among many. A form of inquiry, we must remember, that cannot give a reason for its own existence or direction for its use. For that, we need art. We need literature. We need history and ethics and philosophy, theology, disciplines that provide truth in themselves and ultimately make science meaningful at all. That, right there, is science properly understood.